Table and have some of these small tables to do some,
Yes.
yeah, that would be good.
Yes.
So we're not all sitting the whole time
Right.
listening, yeah.
For sure. Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. So my name is Anna Zamora, and I'm the Assistant Campaign Manager on the Safe California campaign, which is the campaign that is supporting the Safe California Act, which is the initiative that you will all be presented with in 4.5 months on the November 2012 election that will replace California's death penalty with a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now I'm going to explain a lot more about what Safe California is, what the initiative does, and all that in just a second. But first I want to talk about Safe California and why we're calling a death penalty initiative SAFE. First of all, SAFE stands for Savings, Accountability, and Full Enforcement. And Safe California is more than just ending the death penalty. Safe California is about making all California communities safer for everyone. It's about taking our precious resources and not spending that money, not spending millions of dollars on the 725 people who are living on death row right now, who are more likely to die of old age or suicide than they are of execution. It's about not spending our millions of dollars there and instead spending our precious resources where we need it most, which is to solve crime, to prevent crime, to educate our kids, to give them good educations, to give them futures and hope. That's where we should be spending our money, not on the 725 death row inmates. But the fact of the matter is we are spending millions of dollars on those 725 death row inmates. In fact, we spend about $184 million a year on them, more than we would if those same individuals were to have instead been sentenced to life in prison without parole. Additionally, California, I mentioned crime, solving crime and crime prevention. A lot of people are really shocked and disturbed to learn that California has a real public safety crisis. Research from the DOJ, from the California Department of Justice, shows that 46% of homicides and 56% of reported rapes in this state go unsolved every year. That's half of all homicide and rape going unsolved. And what that literally means is people get away with murder in California. And again, while people are getting away with murder, we are dumping millions of dollars on a few hundred that are already locked up behind bars forever and separated from society. So that's why this is called the Safe California campaign, because it is indeed about solving more of these murders and making California safer. Another thing that the initiative will do, because we are dedicated to increasing public safety, is we are actually allocating a portion of budget savings that we will have when we end the death penalty, and we're taking that back into our local law enforcement communities. So we're creating a special fund called the Safe California Fund, and it's a 3-year fund that allocates $100 million over the course of 3 years, so it works out to be about $33 million a year, and that literally goes back into our local police forces for the purpose of doing things like testing rape kits, testing DNA evidence that is associated with homicide investigations, and arming our investigators with the tools that they need to solve these violent crimes. This is literally something that is not happening in California. I call it the CSI myth. You know, we've all seen CSI on TV, and there's this whole myth that, you know, every police department has a staff of investigators. They all have their whatever his name is, Grissom, testing DNA evidence and you know, matching the bad guy with the crime. That actually doesn't happen in California. We have very few crime labs. We have very few investigators investigating murders and rapes, which is why we have half of them going unsolved each year. So Safe California, as I've mentioned, is really dedicated to changing these trends in our communities. So that's about the Safe California part. Just to cover a few other basics about the initiative is supported by members of law enforcement. It is supported, like Hadar mentioned, by murder victim family members, people who have lost loved ones to murder in this state, as well as people who are victims of violent crime. We have an organization called California Crime Victims for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, and this is an organization of victims that say the death penalty does not serve victims, that it is a false promise to victims, it is false justice for victims. Excuse me. We also have, like I mentioned, an amazing group of clergy and faith organizations that are supporting this initiative. We also have innocent people. These are people who were at home with their folks one day and they get a knock on their door and it's the police, and the police point at them and said, "You did it," and then they go to trial and they get convicted of a crime they had nothing to do with, and then they spend years in prison, some of them on death row, some of them not. But these people, 3 of them actually were exonerated just last year in 2011. Frankie Carrillo, Maurice Caldwell, and Obie Anthony. These are 3 people in California that the justice system failed. And combined, they spent 56 years in prison for crimes they did not commit. Those 3 individuals, along with a large group of exonerated people, are standing up and saying, the criminal justice system is run by human beings, and we all know human beings make mistakes. And as long as that is the case, we cannot execute people. We cannot have a death penalty, because we will always run the risk of executing an innocent person.